G'day guys, how's it going? I'm Aza Whitnall, this is Aza World Sport, and after the international break, the Premier League was back in style with some thrashings, some very tight but interesting games, and unfortunately one or two absolute snooze fests. And of course I'm talking about Man United Liverpool, but we will get to that. But there's only one place to start this weekend, and that is Bournemouth absolutely destroying Hull at the Vitality. Their biggest win since they were promoted to the Premier League, and what a win it was. They ruined Hull, barely in the game. Mustard, I think the goal was their only shot on target, really. And even that came from a massive deflection off of one of the Bournemouth defenders, Daniels. So Hull were lucky to even get a shot on target in the end, but really not the kind of performance Hull needed, especially after making a couple of signings, getting Mike Phelan as their official manager. For this result to happen, it's kind of like the worst thing that could have happened, to be honest with you. It's going to be an incredibly tough season. I do still think there are worse teams in the Premier League than Hull, but I just don't see how they're going to be able to get out of a relegation battle and potentially go down at this rate. However, Bournemouth on the flip side, what a club. I love Bournemouth. I think they're very well run. They've got a lovely little stadium. And yeah, all right, it's the smallest capacity in the Premier League. But, you know, they really try hard, give it their all. And Eddie Howe is, in my opinion, the best English manager currently working at the moment. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. I think he's built a great team that is full of talent, fairly decent, like in terms of, you know, mid-age, not too old, not too young. And I think they're going to have a really, really solid season. Everyone always worries about second season syndrome, but the start of the season, when looking at where teams could finish, I never worried about with Bournemouth. I mean, you know, I think they could finish around where they are at the moment, which is 11th. So we'll just have to see how things carry on from there. But yeah, absolutely cracking win for Bournemouth. Now on to some of the bigger games of the weekend. And what I mean by that is when you look at the fixtures coming up, you'd look at the likes of Chelsea versus Leicester. And wow, were Leicester blown away again. They now only have 8 points from 8 games. They lost 3-0 at Stamford Bridge. It's the third time already this season that they haven't scored, which is the same amount of times throughout the whole of last season that they didn't manage to score. So clearly something is not right, and it leaves them with the second worst points tally of any Premier League defending champion, along with Chelsea. And they are the fourth team in English footballing history, not just Premier League history, English footballing history, to lose all 4 of their away games. So something clearly isn't working in the Premier League. What it currently means, based on the way that their Champions League form has been, is that Leicester could be in a relegation battle, but could also win the Champions League at the same time. So it's going to be interesting to see what result they get in the Champions League this week. But yeah, not the kind of result Claudio Ranieri would have been looking for. He rested Slimani and he rested Riyad Mahrez, only bringing them on later on. Didn't really have much of an effect. The game was already over. But the win Chelsea needed to bounce back, and especially with Jose Mourinho and Manchester United going there next weekend, it sets that game up beautifully, because obviously, talking of Manchester United, they're going to need to get a win soon. I know that the draw against Liverpool is probably a good result in the long term. Talk about boring after all of the hype. It was such a letdown of a game. But there are still some interesting statistics to take away from it. Not necessarily backing Jose in the best light. When you look at the fact Man United only had 36% ball possession in the whole game, it's the lowest lowest ball possession Man United have ever had in Premier League history. They were 2 points off better last year under Louis van Gaal at this point of the season than they are this season under Jose. Really, really not good. But there were still some very good performances. Now, obviously, David De Gea made 2 incredible saves from Emre Can and obviously Coutinho. But my man of the match was Ander Herrera. I thought he was exceptional. He's someone who I thought should have been in the team when United first signed him. He's a fan favourite at Old Trafford, and you can see why when he plays. Having that holding role, he's so energetic, it's great. And, that proved in his performance last night. He made 11 interceptions, which is more than any other Premier League player so far this season has made in a single game. So he's certainly proving his worth for Manchester United. However, as much as he put Fellaini in the team to, really solidify the defending side of things and really frustrate Liverpool, which they did, I still think Manchester United have got a better holding midfielder sitting on the bench in Morgan Schneiderlin. Now, I don't think Schneiderlin's been given a fair chance at Old Trafford. Just like before Mourinho took over, I didn't think Herrera was getting a fair chance at Old Trafford. I think give both of them time to work a partnership together, they could be brilliant. I think Pogba at number 10, I think, to be honest with you, Zlatan was the problem last night. I think he needed to come off. And I think if it had been Rooney, he would have been brought off after an hour. I think United lacked a bit of speed up front. And, all right, they had Rashford on right wing, who, when you consider that isn't his natural position, he got back very well, and he did okay. But I think United would have been so dangerous, especially in the last 20 minutes, with Rashford up front, Lingard on the right, and Young on the left. Obviously, if Martial had been fit, then that would have been a completely different ballgame. But to have those three attacking Liverpool, trying to get Liverpool on the counter-attack, with the likes of Herrera and Schneiderlin holding instead of Fellaini, who is clumsy for me, would have been a very, very interesting game, to say the least. So, as much as it's a point well earned, I do think United missed out on an opportunity because they were getting their game plan sorted so well. Liverpool obviously missed Adam Lallana and Giorgio Wijnaldum starting in that team, because when Lallana came on, Liverpool came to life. They were so much better, and it was only in the last 20 minutes that they really did anything, to be honest with you. Up until then, United had straight up frustrated them. And the way that the game was panning out, because you know that this is what Jose does. He's great at frustrating teams. You thought United could catch Liverpool on the counter-attack, but the changes he made didn't, create that kind of opportunity for United. So it was Liverpool's to take in the last 20 minutes, but they just couldn't. But yeah, frustrating game to watch, to say the least. Moving on, Arsenal picked up another 3 points, quietly going about their business, and Mesut Ozil on his birthday with an absolute thunderbolt of a volley, cracking way to celebrate your birthday. And, Arsenal up to second place. Even though Tottenham are the only team this season who are unbeaten in the league, they find themselves third. So, despite all the pressure Arsene Wenger's been under and the criticism he's been under, he's quietly going about his business, and Arsenal are looking stronger and stronger every week. I'm looking forward to when they face the likes of City and United, and also Tottenham in just a couple of weeks' time. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Obviously, Bob Bradley, his first game as Swansea manager, decent start. Obviously unlucky in the end to not come away with a draw, because Swansea missed a couple of big chances in the end. Obviously, Arsenal missed a hatful. I mean, how Theo Walcott didn't come away from that game with a hat-trick, I will never know. But yeah, it was a good performance. Again, though, kind of felt like Guidolin. I thought it was unfair that Guidolin was sacked. I thought Swansea were putting in some good performances. They were just being unlucky. But obviously, it's not these games against Arsenal away where you're going to be judged. It's going to be against the likes of Hull and other teams like that, where Swansea will need to pick up those 3 points. So, decent start, but, just a shame it was a defeat for him in that sense. Manchester City frustrated at home, and, Romelu Lukaku, what a player he is. I know that City dominated Everton in every way. Stekelenburg had an incredible game, saving penalties from Aguero and De Bruyne, and that phenomenal 30-yard strike from De Bruyne as well. But Romelu Lukaku, he's an awesome player, and Everton are very lucky to have him. My biggest fear for Everton is how long can you hold on to him for? Because when you consider he's only 23, compare that to some of the other greats that we've seen over the last decade. Look at Ibrahimovic. He only had 65 goals at the age of 23. Suarez had 107. Rooney 100. Ronaldo's something like 115. Lukaku's 10 more, 125 at the age of 23. So for me, Lukaku's got a massive future ahead of him, even though it feels like he's been around for so long. So yeah, exciting. Very good point for Everton. Again, quietly going about their business. Really could challenge for the Champions League this season, because Koeman, for me, is such a phenomenal manager, and he seems to really be building something good at Everton. And Lukaku seems to be back on form, which is what you want. Tottenham frustrated by West Brom. There's a Chadley coming back to haunt them. Managed to scrape a draw in the end to keep that unbeaten run going, but not the kind of result Tottenham would have wanted. They need to start punishing teams like West Brom, because the more they draw, the more frustrated the fans and the league position is going to become for them, because That was a game they should have won, plain and simple, really, when you look at the form going into it. And if they really do want to mount a title challenge this season, you have to win games like that. But still, it's early on in the season. Can't overthink it too much, but it is frustrating from that sense. We saw West Ham pick up their first away win of the season, finally easing some pressure on Slaven Bilic. Shocking penalty miss from Benteke, though, for Palace. Wow, do not let him take penalties again. We saw Southampton, again, carrying on their fantastic winning run, and I cannot wait to see the game at the Etihad next week because Charlie Austin is on fire. And, Southampton going well now that they're finally starting to put away their chances. So, yeah, good to see. And again, another English striker on form. Hopefully, he will get an England call-up if this form continues for the next international break in November. We then saw Watford win away at Middlesbrough in what was a pretty dull game, but great strike to win Watford the match, but not really too much to talk about from that perspective. And Stoke finally pick up their first win of the season at the expense of Sunderland, who still haven't won this season and look set for the drop. They're rock bottom of the Premier League. But, the main thing to talk about from that game is Joe Allen. What form he's on. 5 goals in 4 games. Where's this Joe Allen been his entire career? At Liverpool and at Swansea. Because, wow, has he been good. So, if he can continue that on for Stoke, then they can maybe start their season as of this point, as of week 8. So, that pretty much sums up all of the results from the Premier League this weekend. What were your main talking points? Do you agree with some of the points I made? Do you disagree with any of the points I made? Please comment below, let me know. As always, I'm Aza Whitnall, and Aza World TV is your place for all things on wildlife, adventure, and sports. I will see you guys again soon with the Champions League reviews.